That was fucking messy. Let's see if we have audio this time, guys. Allegedly with Tiffany. What I've done, as opposed to stressing out StreamYard because Lady Justice was supposed to join us, I've opened up the phone line and I will provide a Zoom link once my heart rate goes back down. Tell me if you guys can hear this.
Hey, y'all. You reached Allegedly with Tiffany. What's that smell? It smells like B.O. or something. Well, that's me. That's me for sure. Anyways, I wanted to talk about this judge because we should not have these type of judges up on the bench. He seems to be racist because if he's just dismissing stuff with prejudice, that ain't right, y'all. That ain't right. What's that smell? It smells like B.O. or something. Well, that's me. That's me for sure.
We have audio working. Thank goodness. We are going to go right into the featured video. It's about 10 minutes long. You guys should hear audio this time. Once we do that, I will start breaking down the visit. There's some stuff here that has not been disclosed until tonight. Lady Justice, if you are listening, telephone line is up on the screen. That will be the easiest way in about 10 minutes, but I will try launching the Zoom so you can join via video too. So with no further ado, guys. the body will collect at the dam, right? That's what usually happens.
Yeah, it will sit down there, so
Yeah, so. All right. I appreciate it, man.
No problem, yeah.
Have a peaceful day. You know where I could find my staples for this guy? You know if there's a dam anywhere along here? Is there a dam? How far? I'm wondering. He's autistic and he's inclined to go near water. I'm trying to figure out where the dam is. I work for Addict Intelligence, but the night is a K. My probation officer calls me a nightmare with a K. Keep going this way, past the marina.
I'm not sure that way, but if you go here and make a left, go down.
Do you know what the dam? What's the dam's name?
Old Hickory.
Old Hick?
Old Hickory Dam.
Old Hickory Dam. I appreciate it, man. Have a peaceful day. This is the street behind Stafford Court. Someone said to check some retention pond or construction, but there's nothing back here. Would you guys be able to hang this up here at your window?
Yes, over here.
Thank you. I work for At-Night Intelligence. That's night with a K. My friends call me Sir Render. My probation officer, he says that I'm a nightmare, but with a K. I appreciate it.
All right, let me get it out.
You work here? I have a quick question. There's a missing boy from Hendersonville, and I assume this was taken in a boot barn. But you guys don't sell those kind of sneakers here, all right?
Was he in here?
That's
at one
well,
time?
that's what I'm saying. I think so, but he's holding up a pair of shoes. We thought it was Boot Barn because that's the logo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the store.
that's what I figured. But you guys don't sell sneakers like that. Why would he be holding up sneakers?
Well, we do sell a hiking shoe.
Do you?
How old is that picture?
About a year ago, a year and a half. He's been missing from Hendersonville for over a year.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Sebastian.
Oh, you know Sebastian.
Well,
know.
I mean, by he's being
Yeah.
plastered everywhere.
Yeah.
But we do carry some like hiking boots. You can go back there and look.
You think that's what he was
See if-
holding?
Yeah. that's
Now,
what he
would your management be willing to look at? Do you guys have surveillance video from that? I'll ask you one more question. We'll get out of your hair. Did police ever pull the surveillance video from here?
And I have no idea.
Yeah.
That's been a year ago.
Yeah.
I don't have no idea.
But you don't know how long back surveillance video is kept from y'all? Is that like a corporate thing or?
Hey, Kevin, you know how long?
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Corporate keeps the surveillance pictures up in here.
Like I'm in tech, sometimes they'll move it to the cloud if they're run out of local storage. So I don't know. Every company has different policies though. Some will only hold it for like a week and
Yeah, after 30 days, nothing.
thank you. That was funny. Hey, good morning. Just wondering if there's anywhere you could hang this at the front so people could see it. He's been missing for over a year still and trying to make sure there's still awareness around here. I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Sorry to bother you. Do you know him?
I don't know.
No. Do you go to the high school here?
No. I'm actually a teacher at Ellis Middle School. I just moved here like a year or two ago.
He went missing like over a year ago from Hendersonville. I'm from Florida. There's a high school called Beach High School. Is that closed?
So right now we're actually on fall break. So this whole week we're out of school right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But there's a high school near here too, right? Henderson High School.
Hendersonville High School is just across the street. Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate it, man. Have a good day. Do you need me to staple anything? You need me to staple anything? I'm all set now.
It's too steep. Oh no.
Okay, guys, we are finally working. So I wanted to break this down on how I met Chris Proudfoot, how that interaction went, and how we ended up here. Barbecue Lady put me in touch. I had put out on X, formerly Twitter, that I had run out of flyers, and apparently Sebastian's stepfather had some ready to go. So I agreed to meet him and expected it just to be an exchange of flyers. And we ended up talking for about an hour outside, and then it started raining, and we went inside his truck and started talking. It was a good conversation. Some of the details have been disclosed out on X. We can review them all, but there were 3 areas specifically that he asked me not to broach in the truck. And then in text, fast forward to the past couple of days, I've been trying to coordinate a live stream with Stephen Crabtree and Sebastian's stepfather. Last night put it out on Twitter that I was sort of waiting. I'm a perfectionist, if you will. If I schedule someone to come on, I will schedule it the night before and then confirm a couple hours in advance. And hour went by, and then it was getting close to the live stream, and I started feeling disrespected. I put it out on X that I was sitting there waiting for confirmation, didn't get nothing, and then finally had enough and said, I'm tired of being disrespected, and I'm going to disclose the 3 things that they didn't want disclosed. I was already struggling with it because people in Nerdbird Mafia know that we crowdsource information. This is all about Sebastian. It's about no one else. I don't give a shit. I'm never going to interact with these people in the future. And I don't mean to be crude, but that's where we've landed. We've worked a lot of cases, and working with caregivers is really problematic. So we will start from the beginning. I'm going to go to my Discord notes. I think the first thing we spoke about was the polygraph. And sort of, I'm going to put up aerial footage so it gives folks an idea of This is Drake's Creek Park, where police searched. It's near creeks. And the 3 subjects that he didn't want broached were the dogs, Sebastian's behavioral health, and an incident with police. And we're not going to really talk about Sebastian's behavioral health. We know that he's autistic. We know that there are behavioral issues with autistic children, teens, adults. They behave differently. And this stream is not to go over that. We will talk about vaguely, because I think it does connect how some of those behavioral health issues tied into people he knew, meaning connections from school to the neighbors. I don't know where you guys want to start. I don't know if you want to call in or if you want to come in on Zoom, Lady Justice, but that's up to you. The Zoom is open, the telephone line is open, either or works. I'll start with the polygraph. He said that during the investigation, they were going down to the fire station, which was the command post for the search and rescue, which was right down the street, and you'll see it. And I think I showed it on the ground there too, and I pointed it out. But when Katie got there, law enforcement surprised her and said, "Look, we're gonna take you for a ride," right? She had no idea what was happening. They put her in the car. They took her to the station, to an interview room, and asked for a polygraph. She took the polygraph, and then it was asked the same for Sebastian's stepfather and Seth Rogers. It's my understanding Seth Rogers has taken a polygraph on the Nancy Grace show, but there were some issues with it. He had to retake it. Sebastian's stepfather took the polygraph. However, there was one question that he got hung up on, in which he himself disclosed to law enforcement and said, look, I don't know how to answer this. And the question was related to, have you ever lied to authorities or police in the past? And he sort of got caught up with that and explained to them that perhaps he did. Maybe it was when he was younger, but there was an anomaly there, I believe, in which he had to explain to law enforcement why that question was problematic. Fast forward, and this is the most significant piece of information. I'm going to disclose it, and I'm going to put it out on Twitter now. Roughly 1 year after Sebastian Rogers went missing, law enforcement descended on his residence and executed a search warrant. They seized multiple electronic devices, and this is the interesting part to me. So they confiscated laptops and more. And it's interesting because, again, this is hearsay. This is someone telling me that they had already given over these devices willingly. Okay. So this is the information where I've been saying on X where it's problematic, because you can look at it either way. Those who work true crime have to think about a judge signing off on a search warrant, right? There needs to be probable cause. And I asked to see that search warrant or what the probable cause was. And the response was that it's sealed. Police confiscated 3 cameras in addition to all the other electronic devices, okay? And those 3 cameras were added after Sebastian went missing. One of those cameras was from Chris Proudfoot's daughter's room. Apparently they installed a camera in her room after Sebastian went missing, and 2 other cameras. People are saying I'm choppy. Could be bandwidth, I don't know. Is that better? Yeah, I see it. Choppy voice. Is that better? Thank you, Indy. Okay. So they confiscated 3 cameras that were added in the home after Sebastian went missing, which was interesting to me. One of those cameras was placed in Chris Proudfoot's daughter's room. I believe she's 8 years old. Police confiscated those cameras with the search warrant that was executed. I don't know what evidence led them to obtain a search warrant from a judge. We know that's sealed now. Yeah, Kate, which part do you need repeated? I'm going to put the link in for Brianna. So let me just get the link for Brianna here, guys. If you want her to join. Okay, so police executed a search warrant 1 year after Sebastian went missing at the residence. They confiscated electronics. They confiscated 3 cameras that were added after Sebastian went missing. So 3 cameras were added inside the home after he went missing, and police felt the need and had a warrant to seize those devices. One of those cameras was inside the daughter's room. I don't know. I sort of ran this by Eva when we were talking and said, is that normal? Is it not normal? It depends on your parenting style. So I don't want to judge that, right? Some parents want to keep an eye on their kids, and that's interesting. It's also interesting because I don't know. I asked his dad, like, do you trust Katie? And his response was, I trust her with my 8-year-old daughter, right? But then the fact that they had to put a camera in the room just sort of struck me as odd. So that was the first piece. The link should be there for Lady Justice when she joins. I should see her. Hey, there you are. Okay, let me put you on the screen here.
Not my face, please.
Oh, you could turn off your video before I put you up here. But actually, no, I think folks can hear you. I don't even need to put you on the screen. Can everybody hear Lady Justice? Wait a second for the chat to respond. Go ahead and say something. Yeah, they're saying yes, so they can hear you. How are you, Lady Justice? What do you want me to call you? Lady Justice, Brianna, what do you want me to call you?
Brianna works because I was getting some really ugly comments about Lady Justice, so I'm assuming there's another one running around.
Okay. So, Brianna, is this new information to you? Did you know this?
It actually went choppy. I missed it, and I was trying to figure out how to get on here.
Okay, I'm tweeting it now. I tweeted it now too. So I will read you the tweet. Hopefully, if it gets choppy again, let me know. This is a new setup. But roughly 1 year after Sebastian Rogers went missing, law enforcement descended on his residence and executed a search warrant. This is 1 year after he went missing, seizing multiple electronic devices, including 3 cameras that had been installed after his disappearance. That was the information that he was guarding and did not want disclosed, one of 3. But I want to take a moment for everyone to process that, think about it, and let you comment on it.
That's that's crazy. The fact that they took footage after the fact of him going missing makes me wonder what they wanted to know that was going on in that house afterwards.
Yeah,
For sure.
Well, the cameras imply that, right? Because those cameras pick up everything. So confiscating the cameras, they
Exactly.
obviously took more than that, right? But he seemed to mention those cameras at least 2 or 3 times while we were in the truck. And it seems important, right? When someone is telling you that they trust their partner, and maybe it could be for other reasons. I don't know. I've never put cameras in my children's room growing up. Baby monitors ended when they were babies, right? So I don't
same.
know.
And-
It's up to the parent, I guess.
Right. That meant you did say they collected ones they installed after he went missing, correct?
After these 3 cameras were added after Sebastian went missing. And then when police hit the house with a search warrant, and again, let's think about the search warrant, right? A judge needs to sign off with probable cause. That probable cause document is sealed, as I know it. I reached out to him, said, can you pull the probable cause document? And they said it's sealed. Their attorney tried grabbing it. So I don't know what it means. I don't know what it means, but I felt like it was important. And obviously they do too if they didn't disclose it. I reached out to TBI. TBI pointed me to Sumner. I reached out to Sumner County. Last night they have not responded, but I know it's true because the neighbor that I spoke to originally, before I met Chris Proudfoot, she didn't know it was a search warrant, but she said, yeah, roughly maybe it was a year after Sebastian went missing. I saw a whole lot of cops parked out front. I don't know what they were doing, but that led me to obviously the information about the warrant. So I'll let you take the mic.
Sorry. I do remember that. But I never did hear what they obtained. And definitely not that they obtained footage from after. That's going to take me a little bit to process.
Yeah.
And
Well, I'll go on. We'll talk about the dogs. I presume, first of all, people joining, I like to do my own independent thing on the ground. So if the information was already out there, fine. If not,
really, sorry.
the dog thing is interesting. I'm going to stop on the aerial footage so we can see it from the air. And here's how it was described to me. Search dogs. So first, dogs were used to pick up the scent of Sebastian, meaning we all know that they'll give him clothes, socks, right, to pick up the scent. The scent, he said, led across the street to the neighbor's house, and specifically to the playscape that they had. I guess they had a playground or like a little playscape swing set slide. I don't know. But the sniff dogs went to that area first. The canines went to that area first. If I remember correctly, he said this was in between the house of Bobby and their teens and in between 3 Muslim women who lived in the house next to them. So the canines pick up the scent, they go into the playscape, and then they take it from there. They go across the street to the creek. In the first video on the ground, you see that sort of shack there, the barn there, where it says Shackle Island. That behind there is the creek. He then says that the canines continue the scent down the creek at some point, and I don't know where, but it's somewhere between the creek and Old Hickory Dam, which is why I showed it. It switches off to cadaver dogs. Cadaver dogs led to the dam. Now, I had a whole lot of questions for ChatGPT because I don't know if someone drowned 6 months ago, if cadaver dogs are going to pick up on that scent or not. I'm not a canine specialist. I'm just relaying what he disclosed. So again, the canines that picked up his scent went across the street first in between the 3 Muslim ladies' house and Bobby's house with the teenagers. It then took them to the creek across the street, and then dogs, both canines and cadaver dogs, then followed it and stopped at Old Hickory Dam. So I thought that was interesting for a lot of reasons. I've worked water cases before, Connecticut, Riley Strain in Tennessee. Usually the dam is the most interesting area for a deceased person because they're going to get hung up there. Now, what's interesting is that he told me that the water was exceptionally high at this time of the year, and when it happened, I think if I remember, he said 10 to 12 feet higher than normal. It doesn't sound like they were able to reduce the water levels to properly check the dam. He also said that there's contention between Sumner County and TBI. Sumner County believes that, we'll just summarize, but they believe, Sebastian ran away, slipped on a rock, and drowned and died. Whereas TBI doesn't believe that. They believe a different scenario here. So I'll let you guys process that, and I'm going to let you take the mic for a second.
Wow, that's crazy. I've thought about that as well. Which it's always been a running theory, and it always will be I always have thought Sebastian is alive, and I do think he is coming home. But I mean, you have to think about the alternative, and slipping on a rock, and being that they didn't drain that dam, I didn't know that either. Actually, that bothers me too.
I think it was technically impossible to lower it to a level. I don't know if the Army Corps of Engineers maintains that dam. Typically in other states and areas they do. But it sounds like the water levels were too high for them to properly check that.
That would make sense because we had some really heavy rainfall, if I remember correctly, right before Sebastian went missing in those areas like Black Mountains and, even Rogersville back this way towards Memphis. Like some very, very heavy flooding.
Also, one of the interesting things when driving the area, I was actually on the GoPro and I'm like talking to myself, trying to narrate to you guys, but I didn't put that up here. But that creek was so shallow. I was like, there's no freaking way he drowned in here. But apparently the way Chris described it was when the water was this high, or when it gets high at this creek, it's not just inches deep. He said it's deep enough to cover a pickup truck and make it float away. So that was interesting to me. And it sounds like the water was that high when Sebastian went missing. And I just worry, and I said this last night on Spaces, I worry. We worked, the Kylie Rodney case, and, FBI experts and dive teams went out there and they missed an entire fucking vehicle. A nonprofit came in and found the vehicle in the very reservoir that they said she was not. I worry that perhaps Sumner County maybe is right. And, Sebastian, his own mother has disclosed that he loved water. He loved swimming. And then coupled with not taking shoes, was it his intent to walk out without shoes and go swimming quickly in the creek and come back? I don't know. But, I don't know what the answer is. And Old Hickory Dam sits next to the lake. You saw the sign that I posted, like 237 drownings in that lake. And I just worry that given the absence of information, the absence of Sebastian, that perhaps it is a drowning. I remember in the Riley Strain case in Nashville, everyone kept thinking something sinister happened, and ended up after a couple of days, it wasn't. He drowned.
Mm-hmm. I guess we can. And didn't the dog hit on that retention pond first? Didn't he supposedly dive straight into that retention pond or whatever it was?
That's not what I was. That's not the way Chris explained it. And again, take it for a grain of salt. But I don't know where that information. It's the first time I'm hearing that. I do have people were telling me to check the retention pond, but a retention pond, searching that versus a lake are two different animals, two different beasts.
Definitely.
So, and someone's asking in the chat, am I sure? Yeah, there was a massive search on the ground. I don't know if people realize how massive the search was, and I know how far away the creek was, and I asked myself the same question. Still, I am relaying the information that Chris gave. So he said that the K9 dogs were actually on top of the dam. Like there's a walkway on the dams, and that's where they stop. So again, he could be misleading me. I am not the type, if anyone in here knows me, I don't mislead people purposely. I am relaying the information that was given to me. I was wrong on the cell phone, I'll say that, and I deleted the tweet. I think as I understand it, and Irina can correct me if I'm wrong, but he asked me to remove it, and I did because it sounded like it may have gotten confused. Sebastian had a couple, he had numbers pre-programmed on his phone, and when police started searching, there was an unknown number. It was eventually found that it was Seth's grandma, I believe. Is that accurate, Irina? I'll wait for Irina to answer, but they ID'd the number as his grandmother. He did mention that the triangulation went to Clarksville, Tennessee. Again, mother. So, mother of whom? Mother, whose mother? Actually, I'm going to go back to his text just to make sure I have accuracy. I'll let you take the mic for a second. I'm going to go.
Okay. I was trying to see where I found that about a dog hitting on water, and I know I've seen that a bazillion times, and I even have it somewhere shuffled away in my notes. But I can't find it right now. And also those video clips I sent you last night, I can't find that either.
Sebastian's phone had a number that wasn't identified in his phone. We found out the number belonged to his grandmother. The burn cell phone that I told you about was a phone that called one of the 3 parents. It called Seth's phone. It doesn't need to sound like Sebastian had a burner phone either, because there is no proof Sebastian had one. That was his response when I tweeted out what I tweeted. You guys need me to read that one more time? Sebastian's phone had a number that wasn't identified in his phone. We found out that number belongs to his grandmother. The burn cell phone that I told you about was a phone that called one of the 3 parents. It called Seth's phone. It doesn't need to sound like Sebastian had a burner phone either, because there's no proof Sebastian had one. The piece that ties in, that's interesting to me for, I don't know if we lost Lady Justice or Brianna.
No, I'm here.
Okay. The part that is interesting, and I don't want to talk too much about behavioral health issues. I'll just say there were some, okay? And one of the behavioral health issues led to Chris Proudfoot having to go to Sebastian's school. I think Chris said the last time he saw Sebastian was on the 2nd. And I believe, if I'm correct, it was at Beach High School. Sebastian had a behavioral health issue with a teacher, acted in a way that wasn't appropriate with the teacher, and he got called down to the office for a sort of parent-teacher conference, if you will. This is the interesting part. So Sebastian, because of his autism, when he traveled throughout the high school, there were only designated people that were allowed to travel with him. Meaning when he went to a class or to the library, there were only a couple individuals that were authorized to transport him from one area of the school to another. That makes sense to you? Apparently, on the day that this happened, Chris sat down in the conference room, and Sebastian was walking with a girl, an older girl who wasn't authorized to walk him through the hallways of the school. It turns out that girl was dating one of the teenagers that lived at Bobby's house. I hope I have that right, because I don't know who the fuck Bobby is, besides hearing his name and knowing that it is teenage sons. But one of the teenage sons was apparently dating the girl that was walking Sebastian. It stood out as significant to Chris because she shouldn't have been, right? That's his words. There were only designated, I don't know if they're teachers, probably teachers or adults. Only adults were allowed to transport him or walk him, guide him, whatever you want to call it. And he noted that this girl, he said, actually, when I saw Sebastian walking with her, Sebastian was giddy. He was laughing, talking to her. Obviously, when Sebastian saw Chris sitting down in the parent-teacher conference room, his whole demeanor changed. He knew that he was in trouble. They addressed the behavior issues. That was the last time Chris saw him. Fast forward to the night of the 25th, morning of the 26th, and Sebastian has vanished. Now, it's also noted, it's weird because people are saying this correctly. I was told that Sebastian just couldn't make friends, but then I'm also told by Chris that he was playing flashlight tag with the neighbors. I don't know if, for a kid or a teenager, if playing with other teenagers makes them or classifies them as a friend. But again, I'm just relaying the information that was given. And the fact that the dogs then went to that playscape, if they were playing flashlight tag and then the dogs go over there, that's interesting, right? And what's also interesting is that I guess a couple times Katie or Chris found Sebastian hiding under the neighbor's vehicle. So in that driveway, I guess he wasn't supposed to do that, but it was noted that he hid under that car. So the two, my thought, again, this is pure speculation. Sometimes teenagers can be brutal. I immediately thought was one of these teenagers jealous of Sebastian? Was he, perhaps talking to this girl, this older girl that was guiding him down the hall when she wasn't supposed to? And in between the 2nd and 25th, more stuff happened while Chris was gone. I don't know, but putting the information out there, I feel is important. So I'm going to stop for a second. I'm going to go to chat because I have not looked at it since running out to the car and switching out the Mac for the PC. So Nikki Jax is not Bobby's kids. Let's get clarity here on whose kids. Bobby's name kept coming up, but I was assuming they were Bobby's kids. Do you know who they are, Brianna? Whose kids, whose teenagers that he played flashlight tag with? I think she disappeared from the Zoom. Bobby's boys are homeschooled. They were home all day. I don't know that that matters if he was playing flashlight tag. He didn't play flashlight tag. So why would Chris Proudfoot say that was something they did? So I asked about the lights. Chris Proudfoot said 300% the lights. I don't care what others say. Chris said that the lights were, the first pair of lights were from a neighbor that were bringing the trash down. Someone here is saying that they didn't play flashlight tag. I don't know how you'd know that, but again, I'm just relaying what Chris said. So Bobby said her kids played flashlight tag, said her kids played flashlight tag. And Chris is saying that Sebastian played with them as well. He never played flashlight tag with the kids per the parents. So again, Lisa, that is not the information that was given to me. So I will wait for Brianna to pop back on. I'm going to continue reading chats. People seem to think that some of this information was out there 10 months ago. Great. I assume some of it was. I've heard a lot of talk or chatter about the dogs too. I think the most relevant information that we didn't know, maybe you guys did. I haven't seen it publicly out there. And if it was public, the media would have reported it. So the search warrant was the most relevant piece of information for me. How did law enforcement know there were 3 cameras in the home after? Because they executed a search warrant, Marley. 1 year after Sebastian went missing, they executed a search warrant at the home. And we don't know what the judge authorized them to take, but we know that Chris said that 3 cameras were taken, 3 cameras that were added after Sebastian went missing. So I don't know about Bobby's kids. I don't know about which teenagers, but again, I said it clearly. It seemed conflicting, right? He said Sebastian couldn't make friends, didn't have friends. And I remember talking about it because I said, hey, Eva's kid is autistic. And I asked him if he's made any friends at school. And he said, no, sort of similar behavioral health issues. So I remember him saying it, but I also remember saying that Sebastian liked to play flashlight tag. I'm assuming Sebastian wasn't playing flashlight tag by himself, right? So I'm assuming that he played with the kids in the neighborhood. I'm going to open, I don't know what happened to Brianna.
I'm here. So sorry.
Do you know if he played flashlight tag? Who the teenage boys were?
Did. I've heard about the flashlight tag. I have heard it is this Bobby, the neighbor. I have heard it was her son and friends that played the flashlight tag. I've not heard if Sebastian actually did or did not confirmingly play. I've not heard one way or the other. So I would hate to say. I don't know. It blew my mind. No, I had to drop down. I was hearing everything that was being said beforehand over it, and then I heard a woman's voice, and I don't know where that was coming from.
Probably Irina hacking our shit again.
Man, I hope not. I don't know. That blew my mind, though. The older lady. Huh.
I guess for me, like I'm a logical human. And so if, I can't imagine Sebastian going and just laying down on their vehicle, right? Why,
no,
Chris?
Absolutely not.
So I would assume that's part of a game, right? If I'm hiding from flashlight tag, that seems like a good hiding spot. So I would think that it's true. I don't know. I wish I had recorded, but it was the first time I didn't record a conversation. But I have pretty good memory.
Well, as I've said, I can relate. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
To the actions of a child, in the positions. And my kid's not laying down on the ground for no reason. For one, they don't per se like to get dirty. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, it does.
Dirt. The shoes. That's why I said I think he had a pair of shoes hidden that he pulled out of the trash, or like, if my son gets out of his bed, his shoes are on his feet. So, I just.
I think they've made it interesting for me because it's in the same area that Chris, again, and we have to take everything with a grain of salt. I don't have a polygraph hooked up to people I talk to. I kind of talked to them and felt them out, and there is no reason it seemed to lie. I think out of everyone involved in this, his alibi, Chris Proudfoot's alibi, would be the tightest. People I've seen chime in and said, wait, geofencing. I don't know that there's any factual information about that. I tend to believe that he came home on the 26th when this all unfolded. He did say something interesting about, he explained why he called the sheriff. There was some, I guess, social media buzz about why he called why he called the local sheriff, I think, versus Sumner County or vice versa. I don't know. But he said that he just knew the jurisdiction. He had lived here long enough. He knew whose jurisdiction it was. He knew who would be taking it when they called, and that's why he called the sheriff. He did say Katie left the house to go look for Sebastian. So in the drone footage where you see me launching my drone, I guess she went over to that church. There's a cemetery there. Then headed back. The conversation that he said he had was, Katie called him freaking out. Sebastian wasn't there. Chris over the phone verbally said, well, he's under the bed. Is he here? Is he in the garage? Go check here. He gave, and he wasn't he wasn't there. He wasn't in any of those places. They had a three-way call with the sheriff. I don't know if it was while Katie was in transit, if she was already moving towards this parking lot or this church. And that church and cemetery is in between Beach High School. So it's in between where they live in Beach High School. The interesting part is that he said that because the way that he chose the sheriff over the other police department is that he said by the time Katie did get home, the sheriff was already in the driveway. So that was sort of his, I told you, I know the jurisdiction better than anyone. And that's why I called the sheriff. They respond faster. This is their jurisdiction. So
his ego is as big as his mouth is. So I saw that too. I saw that with the sort of, I said that yesterday when I said I'm disclosing this information. Like I said, I confirmed. I knew he was seeing my tweets because he's texted me on previous nights and clarified or given clarification. He knew that I was waiting. And then as soon as I said I was disclosing, he called my cell phone 60 seconds later. So he was already blocked by that time. But he may have an ego. I don't know if it matters in this case. What matters is bringing Sebastian home. Absolutely.
I don't know if any of this information helps. I think this is like, and I said this last night on Spaces, it's baffling. The reason so what you're seeing on the screen, this is aerial footage of behind the fire station where the command post was. To give folks an area of the wooded area, obviously it's pretty dense, but it seems like there's some sources of water down there with that fog there. Typically water on the ground will do that, but without going into the woods, I don't know. I believe others have spent an enormous amount of time digging through these areas and looking for Sebastian, including Stephen Crabtree and more. Given how much resources were deployed to look for him initially, people pointed out how much miles is in between the home, this creek and the dam. Yeah, there's 7 miles in between. It's a long distance, but apparently police felt the need to follow that trail all the way and did a massive search, not just in the woods and caves, bodies of water. It seems like they did the right thing, but again, I will point out we've seen other cases where the car was right there in the reservoir. The FBI dive team specialized in doing what they do, dived and came back up and said, no, nothing here. And
we've also seen where when they turn 18, they come home. So
I think that's it. I asked him, like, in his heart, like, what do you believe? Like, what do you believe in your heart happened to him? And I think that's the number one answer, right? Is that he's probably being harbored somewhere, that perhaps someone in the family maybe is keeping him safe somewhere else. I don't know. We go ahead.
I'm sorry. That's been one of my main, of course, from the beginning, because I wholeheartedly have always thought Sebastian's coming home. Is why I try so hard to keep negative off my feed. It's why I've never, given an opinion. Because I don't want that out there. What good does it do? It does absolutely zero good. It doesn't help that baby. I'm not going to find that baby. The best I can do is help bring awareness.
I asked some,
but I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, I asked him some stupid questions because while I was there for a few days, like you see these huge lawns, right? And as you drive around, I was hearing gunshots, and it's Tennessee. People have guns and people shoot, especially when it's not in this neighborhood here, but a couple of streets down there was gunshots. And I asked him, is it possible like he walked away and walked in someone's yard, and perhaps his behavioral health or his behavioral issues arose and someone shot him? I have no idea. I'm hoping for the best, and my mind is still sort of spinning over what happened. The fact that people bring up that Old Hickory Dam is 7 miles away. Yeah, so is Drakes Creek Park. That's about the same distance, and police did a massive search there. The idea was that perhaps he walked over to that area and then went into the water over there. They covered a huge amount of distance in between the house and other areas where they searched. That's just what it is.
Right. And if he walked away, depending on what was driving him, adrenaline can drive you, you know what I mean? Like,
exactly. Yeah.
To all ends. I don't really know. You've given me a lot more to think about for sure or not. Because that's a couple of things I didn't know that really are important.
They are important. I don't know how. We've all thought about it. I don't know how, but it feels like it is important. The details. I think the search warrant for me, why, right? Because if they in fact did hand over every piece of, basically the way Chris presented it was they all handed over their phones willingly, all three, right? Katie, Chris, and Seth. He said that his phone took the least amount of time, meaning Chris's, to image. So if people don't know what occurs during this process, police will tie a device into the phone and take a backup of it, right? They don't have to take the physical phone. I think Chris said something like 7 hours. I could be wrong, 8 hours. Katie's took like 10, maybe. It was in the middle, and then Seth's phone took the longest. Now, that could be for various reasons. It could be because Seth had a different type of phone, right? iPhone versus Android. It could mean that Seth just had that much more data on his phone. The imaging process took longer. Yeah. So I don't know if it's necessarily meaningful. But yeah, they willingly handed over everything, even car chips. And, he described a moment when the FBI team identified with their Wi-Fi sniffer that there was something, broadcasting nearby on the network. And it turns out there's a device in his truck or RV that was broadcasting and putting out a Wi-Fi signal. It sounds like they really put the effort in to willingly give police what they wanted. But that raises the question of why did police then feel the need to obtain a search warrant from a judge, right? And then to execute it, and then to take devices that were not even present or in that home when Sebastian vanished. Those 3 cameras were added after. That part blew my mind. And
that's not just easy to do. Not just a judge is not just going to sign off on a warrant like that for no reason. He's going to have a good probable cause, especially the statute that they have. And don't come at me. They've written in the military because they do have a statute. They're well respected. It just is what it is.
It's certainly interesting. And with at the same time, my mind, people can use that as they wish, right? That's interesting. But it's been a long time since February 2025, right? He said it was about a year after, and we still don't have any arrests. Here we are in October, right? So the fact that they execute it could make us say, police and a judge think that something's going on here. But then everything was taken that was taken, and there's still no arrests or no person of interest, right? So it really depends on your lens, how you're receiving this information.
And I'm going to be honest, I've shifted mine just a little. How could you not?
Yeah, well, especially if you're in true crime, to your point, right? Exactly to your point. Everyone knows That it's difficult to go into someone's home and to take devices means that something was spelled out in that probable cause that made a judge sign off on it and allowed them to do it. So again, you could say, okay, well, a lot of time has passed and there's no arrest, but a lot of time passed in between the time Sebastian went missing and the year that police descended on the house and executed a search warrant. So there's time to hide stuff, there's time to conceal stuff, there's time to delete stuff. So I don't know how to take it. I don't think, and I'm going to continue saying this, and I said this last night in Spaces, I don't think that Chris has done anything nefarious here. I don't. I do think it's interesting that, after our 2-hour conversation, 2-hour plus, he sort of alluded to, well, I'm sorry Katie couldn't be here. She was available, it sounded like, but she didn't wish to speak. I find that interesting. I'm, again, not implying there's any guilt on Katie's part whatsoever. It sounds like she passed the polygraph. It sounds like the only issue on the polygraph was Chris himself, where he told the person running it, hey, he had to clarify, I think is what he said. Like, he wanted to understand if the guy meant if he had lied to authorities presently or any time in his life. And I can relate to that, right? We're all kids, we're all teenagers, and I'm sure I've lied to cops throughout my teenage years and even my young adulthood. So
of course.
I think, given the stress of a polygraph, he wanted clarification. Doesn't mean that he lied, doesn't mean that there was an issue with it. It means that he raised the issue himself and needed clarification, and they re-asked the question. So it sounds like they all passed. Do we know why Seth refuses to take an official polygraph with TBI?
No official reasons.
That's interesting to me.
Isn't it?
Well, I mean, to do it on Nancy Grace,
and fall asleep.
Yeah, and to fall asleep.
I mean,
and there's only a portion. I guess he said Nancy Grace only asked maybe 6 questions, their polygraph team, whereas law enforcement for Katie and Chris asked, I think if I remember correctly, 13 questions. So.
And isn't that episode gone? I haven't been able to find it.
I don't know. I've never even looked for it. Nikki Jack said, do we really know Seth has refused? I don't know. It's, again, I'm taking this from Chris.
Yeah, that's what I've seen it multiple places.
Yeah, I think I've heard that before too.
And where would I say somebody's going to screw it and twist it and throw it somewhere?
Yeah.
But this is the first time I've talked on this case. And so I do appreciate you letting me.
Well, I appreciate everything that you've been doing for it too. I figured that some of this information was probably repetitive. They took the GPS and OnStar. His RV had Wi-Fi. They took that to analyze as well. I'm trying to read my notes here to make sure I haven't missed anything. Chris?
Though, you bringing up that new information, for a long time, I thought, LA's always going to hold, stuff close to the vest. But I've always thought, is it that they have A, B, and C, and they just can't connect it to X, Y, Z? Like, do they know? You know what I mean? Like, and they just can't put that little...
I don't know. And
you see what I mean, though?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're saying.
And that year in makes me wonder even more now. Like, my brain is going 900 miles an hour.
Yeah. My notes initially, so when I immediately got out of talking to him, I wanted to do a brain dump for our folks in Discord. So I'm just reading some of this stuff. He said the light is 300% a flashlight from his neighbor that took trash down to the road. The same boys where Scent started used to play flashlight tag with him. Once Sebastian was found hiding under the car, the scent dog first picked up the scent at the creek, and cadaver dogs followed to the old Hickory Dam. I feel like that connection to the girl and the teenage boys, if the canines went there originally across the street, and we'll get on the next stream, we'll get details, right? If there are 3 Muslim women there, we will be able to pull the property records and see maybe who was living there to get more clarity, right? Exactly. But this is what he said. He said the dogs picked up the scent. They went across the street. They first went into the playscape. Now, that could be just for the simple fact that he played. Like that would confirm that he played with the neighbor's boys, right? At the very least. So I think that was interesting. And then my mind goes to, well, we don't know where Sebastian is, and could these teenage boys have gotten jealous that he was trying to interact with this girl that was walking down the hallway. Did something happen that night between teenagers? But for a teenager to be able to, teenagers can be mean, but I don't think they're good at concealing murders and bodies, right? So
no, but I mean, I've seen some parents do some pretty crazy things for their kids.
Yeah,
Just saying.
Yeah, well, Brian Laundrie.
I mean, nothing surprises me anymore. Exactly. Like, nothing surprises me anymore.
She just got booted. I'm gonna send her a new meeting invite so we can continue the conversation. I don't think it's gonna last much longer, but I will go to thank you, girl mom. What did the people in the community think happened? We've discussed it with like internally in our own Discord, and Irina seems to think that none of the 3 caregivers are involved. We spoke at the beginning about what Chris said, that there was some, I guess, a difference in opinion from Sumner County. Sumner County said, look, we think Sebastian may have slipped, fell in a rock, and went into the creek. And he said that TBI doesn't think that's the case. So even between, if there's contention between law enforcement, imagine what happens in the public realm, like right here in the chat. So again, all opinions are welcome here. Please state them respectfully. We do the same to y'all. Pate saying no body. But again, if police are disagreeing on what happened to Sebastian, then expect this divide here and divisiveness with true crime sleuths and the public. There's going to be a divide there. I don't know what happened. I'm going to start this meeting real quick so she can come back in. Brianna, I'm sending the link into the chat for you again. We have a 40-minute time limit on Zoom. Again, this wasn't the way that I wanted to do the live stream, but we've had all sorts of fucking technical challenges from YouTube. From starting it, YouTube went down, and then we had some audio issues, and then we ended here. So it is what it is. Chris Proudfoot, so Choo Choo's mommy, Chris Proudfoot, the way he conveyed it was that there's 2 different agencies, well, multiple agencies, the FBI is here too. So, but Sumner County, he said, believes that Sebastian had an accident, right? They believe that Sebastian maybe walked away, slipped on a rock, hit his head, and drowned. He says TBI doesn't think that's the case, and that their opinion differs, although it didn't really go into what that would be, what TBI thinks. All I know is that the 2 agencies don't agree on what happened to Sebastian.
That's unusual too.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I personally, I tend to lean away from that. I don't know why. I guess just because I still think he's with us. Like,
I do too. I feel in my heart that he's.
I do too.
Yeah, I want to state that because if people ask what we think in the community, I think that's what Irina is alluding to too, right? If she doesn't believe any of the 3 caregivers did anything, then same, right? I don't think that he's dead.
Any of them done anything malicious.
I hope
I don't
that
know.
he didn't go. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like when you look at that water, it's not like. Doesn't look like water you'd want to jump into. It's dirty water. You can't see through it. It's not clear. And so.
No, I don't see that at all. No. That'd be like my kid going out here and getting in the pool before we get it ready for the summer. Are you kidding me? If he can't see his reflection in the bottom of that thing, he is not getting in there.
Interesting.
And like I said, he's 18 now, and he doesn't leave his bedroom without at least his slides on.
Yeah. That was another thing Chris said, is that if you place, like, as an example, if you place Sebastian at Texas Roadhouse by himself, even though he's been there several times or to that area several times, Sebastian had no sense of direction. He wouldn't know how to get from point A to point B, even though areas were familiar to him. So
I see that too.
Say that one more time.
I see that as well. Like,
yeah.
Same. Yeah. Sense of direction isn't great. Dirt. It's not locked. Like the gritty feel, the textures are huge. Excuse me.
What about a clean driveway? Would your child have a problem with because those driveways were like pristine, right? And they looked pretty clean. It didn't look to be like oily, dirty, etc.
It didn't matter. My kids aren't getting on the ground.
Yeah.
And I mean, and then it's just being honest, like, even probably playing a game, you know, like he's probably going to just be like, or just look at him, you know.
I'm gonna
That's a
try.
lot of things I struggle with.
This ran much later than I anticipated to, and but I would like to invite Kaylee Jones on our next live stream. She did agree that she wanted to come on and perhaps talk about it. She's autistic. She went missing from Georgia, and similar circumstances here. If you didn't follow that case, people really were blaming the parents and the caregivers, thought that they harmed her. I think there were some similar discipline issues in that case as well, where her caregivers were disciplining her in a way that maybe not everyone agrees with, but still legal in that state. And, you know, Kaylee walked away and kidnapped, I guess is the technical term, but sounds like she was groomed. And, you know, she's now an adult. She was found safe. People thought that she was dead. She came home. She came home when she was old enough, and now she's gone. She left, and you know, if you watch her TikTok, I don't think she wants anything to do with her caregivers. But with all that said, I think that she would be a brilliant mind to perhaps discuss this with.
I do too.
Yeah.
I've actually, she reached out to me on TikTok as well. I was surrounded and all that. Don't you remember?
I think
I've
like,
been here
for
since
me,
the beginning.
I think for me, like I want details from, because everyone was looking for her. This was, you know, she was on Nancy Grace.
Oh, it's crazy.
Like, what
yes.
did you specifically do to stay out of the public's eye, right? What were you thinking at the time? And again, she's autistic too, so I think it would give us some insight.
Wasn't she working at the dollar store?
She was. I hit that dollar store. She was working there,
okay.
and her manager said she wasn't happy working there. She had some, I think, behavioral issues too there. But yeah, she
probably didn't like mine. She just don't like people. Like, it is what it is. It just.
Well, I think she was also being forced to work by her.
Yeah.
Yeah, her caregivers.
Yeah, but anyway, I have talked to her as well on TikTok. She's doing great. I love watching her TikTok.
Gotcha. I just want to go to the super chats for a second. So I don't typically have this many people in here, but Crema Chronicles, did you speak with Seth or try to? No. And again, I want to clarify that it wasn't even my intent to speak to Chris Proudfoot. My intent was I didn't reach out to anyone. If I wanted to knock on his door, I would have knocked on his door. I was there to do this independently the way I always do them. And the reason that I do that, Crema Chronicles, is because we've worked other cases. People say they want to find a missing loved one and they want you to dig. And then when you start digging and find stuff that they don't want you to find, they get abrasive, they get confrontational. It messes up the case for the person that you're looking for, right? All of a sudden your focus turns to drama, protecting where your data came from, why your data came, it turns messy. And so my intent was never to speak to Chris Proudfoot at all. I felt like it was, I'd spent a lot of money traveling to Tennessee from Florida. I had already spent my own money printing flyers for Sebastian. I'd spent a lot of time doing it. We spent a lot of money without any donations whatsoever, doing Google ads for him, both on YouTube and then to our website, where you can get a text version or video version. And so really it was like, okay, if you have a whole shitload of flyers, it saves me $100, right? And so I'll pick them up. You're right there. I went to pick up the flyers and the conversation extended 2.5 hours. So to answer your question, I did not try to speak to Seth. I don't know. I'd have to think about if I want to speak to him. Like, I just don't, given a lot of what he's done, seems to be, I don't know, just take the Nancy Grace. Like, just if you do it for Nancy Grace, why don't you do it for the TBI? Right?
I have no respect for that man.
Yeah, it's like, it's almost like it's for the clout. And if the rumors are true, where he's slept with some of these true crime creators that were working the case, it kind of tells you where his heart is. And I don't want to judge anyone, but I also don't want to talk to people that act that way. So I hope that.
Not to mention, he's said a few things that shouldn't have been spoke on. In my opinion. Sorry. I always want to add that. And that just ruined it for me. I lost all respect, and I can't help that. There's just some things that's not okay, and that was one of them.
If she asks, do you know why Seth would say that Sebastian is behind a paywall in North Carolina? And if seen in a sporting goods store, he would be with 2 adults. So there is actually 2 or 3 sightings. There's one that we don't even know about where, the FBI or TBI came back. And this was interesting, actually. I'm glad you asked the question, Ishi. Because this kind of speaks on Seth Rogers. There's been a couple leads, and that lead was no good. They've confirmed it wasn't Sebastian. It did look a lot like him. But it shows you how much Chris Proudfoot knew Sebastian and knew him better than Seth. Because as they were looking at it, people, even the caregiver said, that might be him, right? That might be him. And Chris explained how Sebastian had 3 freckles on his neck. So he knew immediately it wasn't Sebastian. He said Sebastian was pigeon-chested, and he knew immediately that it wasn't, and Seth didn't. That kind of tells you how much time Seth had spent with his child, right? Oh, I hope that answers your question, Ishi. Girl's mom, what did the people in the community think happened? I think we sort of got to that. We don't know, or I'd like to believe that he is safe, and like Kaylee Jones is waiting to return when he's 18. And I think that's interesting because Chris made it a point to say, did you know there's a law in Tennessee where if you're a parent and you take your child and then you bring him back, it's only a misdemeanor. So I think that's where their heart is too. I think that they want to believe, and they think that Sebastian is somewhere else. They mentioned Texas and California as places of interest. Now I will say, like, if the FBI is involved, I'm sure they've staked out multiple locations, right? I don't know. It won't be, so Heather, I actually went to Clarksville the first time. So for people that don't know, like I just said, we ran a Google ad campaign. There was some anomalies. So when we do ads, just like when you go to Google and you search for pizza near me, right? We were targeting Tennessee, the entire state. We direct them to my webpage, and we're able to see the analytics of what people are clicking on, where they come from, etc. And what we saw in Clarksville, Tennessee, was a single source clicking on the ad way more than any normal user would click on an ad. That information was given to TBI, submitted as a tip, and showed them the analytics. Even if it meant nothing, I still submitted it. And I've always wanted, I like to work a case and see the ground and see the area around it. And I think at the very least, hang up flyers. I really wanted to hang up flyers and saturate the area of flyers. I wanted to fly the drone to see for myself the area around the home and perhaps get ideas of where it was missing. So I hope that answers your question. I didn't reach out to Chris again. I've never reached out to Chris. I've never reached out to anyone in the family. They saw that I was hanging up flyers and offered that they had more flyers. So that clarifies that. North Carolina comment was made 3 weeks ago. What do you mean, is she? Sorry. So is she saying the North Carolina comment was made 3 weeks ago? I don't know. We wasn't the first sighting in like North Carolina. I think there was another one in Virginia. He said, again, there's 2 or 3 sightings with pictures that were shown to all 3 caregivers.
Man,
Seth thought
that one at the rest stop.
that looked like him a lot. Yeah, no, that did look like him. I'll give it. Yeah, but I think they said that when they zoomed in, like there was no freckles and he wasn't pigeon-chested. Like Chris stood by that, and he knew Sebastian well. And there's also some conversation about Sebastian moving in. I think people already know this, but Sebastian was going to move in with Seth. Apparently, Seth didn't register in time for school, and Sebastian, because he was homeschooled during COVID, made the decision that he didn't want to move in with Seth. It would mean he had to homeschool because Seth hadn't registered him in school. And so Sebastian chose to stay with Chris and Katie. I think that says a lot when a kid chooses a stepfather over the biological father. I think the child is telling you how they feel. And obviously kids are kids, right? Kids will, if they can get away or feel like they can get away with something somewhere else, right? People have to realize that Chris was, he's the one that put the foot down on the behavioral health issues, or when things went down at school, he was the one that had to take away electronics or punish Sebastian. And so, but it still says a lot. Sebastian still wanted to stay there versus Seth.
Well, and Seth was gone a lot. And speaking from mother's perspective is in that area. And anybody can say whatever they want to say. I could see it when Katie was with Sebastian at Texas Roadhouse. They have a close connection. Like, they do. Like, my kid follows me everywhere. Still. Even at 18. And constantly asking me what he can do. Can he do anything? It's just, it's that connection. There's extra care given. There's extra bonds made. Like, and a lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah, I mean, put it in perspective. Like, if I was a teenage boy, like, I loved my Game Boy growing up. Like, if my parents were separated, like, I'd go with the parent that allowed me to play my Game Boy full time, right? And Seth was that parent, right? Seth would allow him to do stuff that he wasn't allowed to do at home. And Sebastian Sebastian still chose to stay where he was.
Yeah. And a lot of times with children like that too, the connections, because they do lack connections with, per se, other children, like the connection with, like, per se, a mother is stronger. Like my son, first instance, like, I'm his best friend, but it's because we have that connection, and I do for him and provide, understand.
I also have to, like, go back to motive. Like, everyone that's slung allegations at these people, what would the motive be? Like, why bring your son to Texas Roadhouse to bring him home to do something harmful to him? It doesn't make any fucking sense. Sorry.
No, it doesn't. No, you're right. It doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. And I agree. I'll stand on that. I don't think he did anything to Sebastian.
And I also don't think Sebastian walked 7 miles to Drake's Creek Park, right? No.
Maybe 7 feet.
When people ask why I'm there 2 years later, you know, being on the ground, like, yeah, I zoomed in on Google Earth and I'm like, yeah, but, like, here's where he went, right? Drake's Creek Park and right to the lake, and maybe he's in Dam. But when you drive these roads, there's no space to safely do that the time of night that he went by. Also, people in Tennessee are, like, really caring. Like, they're really
and
friendly.
Barefooted at that. I mean, come on.
Everyone I encountered was, like, super friendly. I can't imagine someone seeing a teenage kid walking on this, you know, tiny little shoulder of the road barefoot and wouldn't stop to help him out. Like, it just doesn't seem plausible.
And crazy that nobody's seen him.
That's the other piece, is that I don't quite, like, every other case there's a camera trail. You know, and these aren't, you see these homes, like, most of these homes have surveillance, CCTV, ring cameras, say like 1 out of 5 if I had to take a guess.
Right.
And there's no trace of them. There's not a single trace of them.
I truly think all of us may be a little flabbergasted when everything comes to a head, maybe.
Pate just texted me. She said my voice is changing. That's because my roomies are trying to sleep. For those that don't know, I'm a sober home getting sober, and this whole night was a clusterfuck. This was supposed to start at 8, and we started later. So yeah. I've lowered my
sorry.
voice.
You should have just went without me.
No, it's all right.
But I do appreciate it.
And I see people throwing, maybe trying to, a barbecue lady. Like, I don't know. It seems like everyone's best intent. People have been on the ground. I don't throw any shade at someone who's helping, looking for a missing kid. If you are, then you need to look inward. I don't
know her.
No, I'm just briefly reading it. Barbecue Lady is the one that put me in touch with Chris. So she's the one that said, look, he's got some flyers, and go ahead and head over there and grab them. So
well, then I appreciate her.
Exactly. I do too.
I appreciate you. Like, I appreciate everybody that's been somewhere I can't be.
I will say I did, I think I'll end it here tonight, and we will plan on perhaps getting Kaylee Jones on. I did speak to her today. She just moved up north. I've been waiting to hear from her for like 2 weeks, and she finally responded. She asked about the case, so she's interested in it. I'd like to get her on and pull her thoughts on this as well.
I think that'd be great.
I think it would be great too. Yeah.
I'm down anytime. Just let me know.
Yeah. Trying to think if there's anything.
My name is Nikki, and I keep seeing everybody saying Nikki, and it's throwing me off because that's what everyone calls me away from Twitter.
Ishi, thank you. The super chats are appreciated. Thanks for covering Sebastian. I know about the first sighting. I'm saying Seth said he's in North Carolina behind a paywall. That's crazy to me. He said it on another content creator's channel. What does she mean by a paywall? When I think of a paywall, I think of like like when I go to Daily Mail and they want to make me pay to read an article. I know about paywalls in the technical world, but I don't know what. Maybe you can. You don't need to send a super chat to clarify. It's appreciated, but you can just type it in and tell us what you mean by a paywall. Thank you, Barbecue Lady. Barbecue Lady says thanks for going, hanging flyers, keeping his name out there. Yeah, it was moving my feet, and I have some other stuff going in my life, and I like to stay busy. I think it was really like it made my heart sort of feel good when the lady said, "Everybody knows Sebastian." Right. And
man.
It kind of made me, okay, well, I need to sort of get out of Hendersonville and hang these flyers up elsewhere and go to events and hand them out. And that's what I did. But, I have footage. There's, Opry Mills, where people said that this is another thing that sort of leaned on Sebastian actually having people he hung out with. Someone said that he went to Opry Mills, which is like just a big mall with people that he knew. I did not clarify that with Chris, so I don't know if that's accurate, but people seem to think that was true, but I don't know.
It just looks like he done so much. And all his pictures are... Let me see the same thing as somewhere else, so I don't know.
Yeah. This is a baffling case, and I think, I hope my heart is right, and I hope that he's somewhere safe with... I guess for me, that though, like, why? Like, why, I guess. It seems like he wanted to stay with Chris, and like Chris wasn't expected back anytime soon. Like Chris came back on the 26th because this unfolded.
You can just keep talking, you answer your own question.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again for having me.
You are welcome. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you guys for tolerating the shit show that this was at the beginning. I hope that at least the search warrant information makes people think about this maybe in a different way. It looks negative, that police had enough to go search the home, but there's also some positive to it that there's been nothing found that we know of, or if there was, we'd assume there was an arrest, but also police are keeping a lot of this stuff tight to their chest. So I appreciate you guys coming on. It's late and I need to give my roomies some quiet. So I hope you guys at least have a better idea of the area, of sort of the land around him and, the different various terrains. Like I said, I don't think that he walked away, and I think if he walked away, someone would have stopped. So